how much cash flow were you getting in off that investment every month?
0. It looks good on paper though.
It does, yeah. And that's all you're buying.
That's right.
That's the funny thing about the stock market. People don't realize that they're buying other people's debt. Welcome to the Troy Curtains Podcast. We talk all things real estate, business, entrepreneurship, and we are at our event in Kansas City live with one of our students and one of our coaches and a guy who is the captain of the rig on the BP oil in the middle of the ocean in the Gulf of Mexico. Eddy Ramos, welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the right title. What's your title?
It's called well side leader, but it's known in the industry as a company man.
A company man. What does that mean?
Essentially, all it is the oil company's interest is oil.
Right.
So we just represent the oil company's interest.
So you're a company man.
That's right, company man.
That's awesome. Right. So you joined our program in June of last year. You're one of the original OGs in the program, and you had done other programs before. Tell us about your story prior to investing into real estate and kind of what your career has been and where you came from, where you're about, and you're just kind of get into your background, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah. So my background's been parents divorced when I was little, and then trying to grow from not getting that same situation, right? So how do you go from not having money, single mom, 3 kids, living in an efficiency? You don't want to do that again, right? So it's like, how do I break that cycle?
Right.
So then went out to college, started working for my professional job, making good money, and I'm like, well, I'm scared to go back to that. So how do I prevent that from happening? Start investing in the stock market heavily, right?
Right.
401k, stock market. And then you slowly start realizing like, okay, it's growing, but not at the rate that I wanted to grow. So then I started looking at how do I make more money? So real estate, you Google it, real estate pops up. Okay, well, all of a sudden, me and Morgan move in together. I'm lazy. I don't want to move out again after 6 months. So I asked the guy, hey, would you sell it to me? He's like, yeah, I'll sell it to you. This is the comps, $350 for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So I'll give you $290, right?
Yeah.
We settled at $309, cool. So that was my first property.
Right.
And I wanted to learn about real estate, Google it, then Bigger Pockets came out.
Right.
And that led me into my journey of buying a bunch of books. Read one. Now I have 20 that I haven't read still, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not a reader. And then...
but you buy books.
I buy books. I start them all. Morgan's like, you don't finish them. I'm like, oh, well, I got the gist of it.
Yeah, I read the back.
That's right. I read the back. I read the reviews. And then from there we go into, all of a sudden, COVID happens. My sister moves down from New York, right? She does well for herself as well. And then I'm reading, how do you house hack? How do you do this? So we take that opportunity, and me and her go partnerships. And I say, well, let's move out.
You and
my sister.
You and your sister go right. Partners.
Right, in 2 of the properties. And I'm like, okay, you buy a single family home. I'm gonna buy a single family home. The intent's to live there. Knowing that more than likely, prior to a year of living there, she has to move back.
Okay.
So we do that, and then all of a sudden I own 3 properties. I joined another mentorship group.
Right. That was Springboard to Wealth by Thatch, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So I joined it with they sold me. They're pretty good. They sold me, right?
I went on a call. I didn't feel like they were good at that. The guy I had was like...
Well, at that point they were good because I was wanting to learn.
Yeah.
I own 3 properties. I have a problem. I don't know. I didn't plan on being a landlord.
Yeah.
So they were like, hey, we'll help you. You have direct access.
Right.
Direct access, man. Like, hey, you have a Facebook community. You can ask questions. And at that point, I needed direct access, right?
Right.
And that's kind of where you came in the picture at that time, right around the same time.
Right.
And then I decided to join your program. And ever since then, we've become, I hope, we're friends.
No, we're not. We're absolutely not. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's been life-changing since. I mean, the little I invested has 20, 30, 50x now maybe.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So when you came in the program, you had 3 houses or 2?
I was just in the process of getting my 3rd one.
Okay, yeah, so you had 3 houses. You were kind of, I remember a lot of the time when you were talking about stuff, you were like, hey, you're trying to find deals in your own market, and then like you had all this equity, but really no cash flow. You had like, I think a couple $100,000 in equity, but it was like cash flowing $300 or something like that, if I remember correctly.
No, those properties are still doing the same thing. Yeah. So since COVID, now looking back, those deals, I would have never bought them. But because of COVID, I was one of those that bought with the thought of appreciation.
Right.
It worked out where COVID helped. One of those properties appreciated $300,000 over COVID.
Right.
The other one appreciated $150,000.
Right.
So now I have, and then the one I'm living in now, that one's appreciated another $150,000. So you got 3 houses with over $600,000 in equity.
Right.
Sounds great. Looks great on paper.
Right.
But they cash flow maybe between those 3, maybe $800, $900.
Yeah, and there's a lot of risk because there's so much. Like if you look at the assets, so one asset might be worth $500,000, one asset might be worth $400,000, and that $500,000 investment's bringing you $200. It's really not that great of a return. So then you joined the program, and you were kind of a little bit all over the place. Like you wanted to do this deal here, this fourplex, this one. And you had a couple deals we were working on. You were really stuck on. I remember one particular deal. That guy who owned the house across the street from you that had been not paying his bills for like. Still like that, right? Yeah. And so eventually we found you a flip, right? We found a flip together. It was 3 hours from your home. Yeah. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so that one's actually interesting. I was talking about that last night to some of the people. So my big problem was I can't find a deal in South Florida.
Right.
If I find a deal, they want $450,000. I got to put in $100,000 to make $30,000. Right. So you said, look, Eddie, you can't find it. Look, I just got one from a wholesaler. I don't invest in Florida right now. This is yours if you want it. Right. We looked at it. We looked at the numbers. We conservatively said ARV of $240,000. You'll make $40,000. Yeah. I think what you did, and I had a feeling that what you were doing back then, it was, hey, I'll partner up with you, Eddie, no problem. And then at the closing table, you're like, I'd rather you make $40,000 than split 20. Right. Because if we're partners in this and your first one, I'm gonna be a jerk.
It's true. Ask Michael Miller.
But yeah, so we got that one. We locked it up for $125. Right. Right, and then we put into it, it's about $65,000-$70,000. Right. We ended up making $72,000 on it, and I did that with my dad.
You did that with your dad?
Yeah, he did all the work. So, and I take credit for it. Morgan's like, you didn't do the work. You picked up the trash and went to Home Depot, but I was like, I did the work.
Well, I saw you did insulation underneath the.
Oh, that sucked.
Yeah, I remember that, dude. You did insulation underneath the house. You did a bunch of landscaping. I know that you helped him install that slider.
That's right.
Right. So I think you did some stuff. Your wife, your baby's mama, she was painting in the property and everything like that. So from that being June of 2022 when you started, because June 6th of 2022 is when we started the first class. So fast forward, we're at our third mastermind. It's what is that, like 15 months, 16 months, whatever it is, from you joining the program. What have you got right now?
Right now, I know I had about 12, between 12 and 15 or 16 properties. And you would think I would know, but I just locked up 3 more this week. Right. So I'm somewhere there, and I'm flipping, and I just sold one, and it's closing next week. So I gotta sit down and remember where I'm currently at, but right around there. Less than 20, but between 12 and 15.
Right. But the biggest thing is the mindset shift from going to that initial, like, hey, I'm going to buy properties that are going to appreciate. I'm going to appreciate my way to financial independence. It's like you really can't do that, right? You got to move the money, make deals. Now you're starting to stack rentals. I wanted to talk a little bit about your day job because I think it's a pretty cool job. I know we talked about it last time. Tell us about what you do every day and why BP has you working for them.
Yeah, it depends who you ask. So I have a couple of friends that I graduate college with that work in the same field. Uh-huh. You ask him what I do, they're like, he doesn't do anything but just sit on his ass. Right? But it's very interesting. So I get the opportunity to go out 110 miles offshore. Right. I go on the oil rig. So pretty much a big ship with a hole in the middle, a big old steel frame, and drill or look for oil, right? 25,000 feet. Right. So to me, that's very interesting. And and I love it because I learn something new every day. It's,
right.
You've had people land on the moon, but you don't have visual at 25,000 feet. So it's a lot of data, right? Just like real estate, it's a lot of data. So that's my biggest takeaway from that, from working in the oil field.
Yeah.
And then my job in particular is just being, in essence, the project manager for the company, right? So the company's interest, I go out there. Out of, let's say, 140 people average every day on the rig,
right.
Only 2 or 3 of us work directly for the oil company. Everyone else is a contractor or subcontractor for us. So that's helped me a lot in the real estate space, being able to project manage. How do you move the plan forward, and how do you think ahead? So we're always on the oil rigs. We're always 5 days ahead. We're always thinking 5 days ahead. What do we have coming up? How do we get this equipment? Because it's high cost.
Right. Let's talk about that a little bit more. Like, when you said it helped you with real estate, how did it help you in terms of like just planning things out?
Yeah. So looking at the forecasting what a project looks like, because if you leave it up to me, for example, now we have a baby, right? Mm-hmm. We want to get the whole ring set up. I bought it 2 months ago. All the boxes are still sitting in my front door, right? So if you leave it up to me, I'm just gonna let it sit. Uh-huh. But now when I'm working for the oil company and I'm working for my business, which is the real estate side, you have to move things forward. Right. So it's helped me dictate the project, how to move it forward, and make sure that the contractors are doing their job. And if they're subbing it out, well, making sure those subs are moving forward with the project.
Right. So what do you think, where do you think, based on kind of what you've done in the last 15 months or 16 months, whatever it is, where do you see the next 5 years going for you?
Hopefully 10xing the portfolio.
Right.
And with that, hopefully 10xing the cash flow, right?
Right. So what are your cash flow goals? I don't even remember. I know we did a thing way back when, but I don't remember exactly what it was.
I think my cash flow goal was like 20 grand a month.
Right.
I'm not there yet, but getting closer and closer.
Yeah, and that's a reasonable goal in a short period of time. And probably when you said it, it didn't seem reasonable, right? Mm-hmm. But now as you're adding these properties, it's a lot more reasonable. Do you think that when you came and started investing in real estate that you were thinking it was more like buy, wait for it to go up in value, and then sell it versus buying cash flow?
Oh, yeah. Based on even the properties I have in South Florida, it was buy. The same thing you learn from everyone that doesn't do real estate. Right. Oh, you got to buy that property. It's good. Hold on to it for 25 years, and then you can make 50 grand.
Right.
Now we're doing that in 6 weeks. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite possible that you could make a lot of money real quick in real estate, and you've figured that out. And now you've studied multiple ways. You've done wholesale deals. You haven't done a sub 2 yet, I don't think.
The first property I got in Birmingham, or second property I got in Birmingham is a subject 2 property that a wholesaler brought to me.
Right. How is that one performing?
Now it should be rented out. I haven't received any checks, but our property management told me they rented it out.
Okay. Yeah, we got to work on if you're listening right now and you are a property manager in Birmingham, reach out to us.
Yes.
So what are your short-term goals for next year? Let's just kind of go down that rabbit hole. You just had a baby.
Oh, yeah, that's experience. Wild. It's wild, the fact that you have to be certified and everything to drive, to go to school, to get a job, yet a baby comes out and they let you walk out of the hospital with it.
Yeah.
They have no idea if I'm fit to be a parent at all.
Right. Are you?
Absolutely not. Luckily, Morgan is amazing. She takes care of the whole family. I don't know how she does it. Yeah.
That's awesome. So how has that changed, like, just your thinking of, like, your business, your life, and everything like that?
Wow, 180. Like, prior to this, people say, what's your why?
Yeah.
Right? And I always heard people say, my family, retire my family. And I was like, I must be selfish because that's not my why. My why was,
I understand.
what am I capable of? Like, if Troy can do it,
right,
why can't I do it?
For sure, 100%.
Now seeing that his name's Rhett, right? Seeing him here before he poops in my hand, right? Seeing his face, I'm like, now I get it, right?
Right.
It's a different, like this little human is amazing, but he's depending on me and Morgan to show him what life is about and how do you move forward and how do you achieve goals, how do you set them, how do you achieve them, and how do you plan for the future.
And you're also working with your dad. Your dad now moved to one of the markets that you're investing in.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Do you guys talk every day?
Yeah, we talk every day. Just check up on each other, and he's telling me, hey, I found this other house, and now a couple of students in your group have also invested in Birmingham.
Right.
So they're reaching out to him. So now I'm also playing the translator sometimes, you know?
Yeah, for sure, yeah. Well, your dad speaks pretty good English.
Yeah. But also, he's my dad at the end of the day, so like I want to make sure that, one, the people I recommend, he's my dad, are doing a good job for the people, right? So it's no different if you, like in Mississippi, you recommended your cruise to me,
yeah,
but you're always checking up, right?
Yeah.
You had no interest in the property other than I recommended these guys to
Right.
Eddie. I want to make sure my name doesn't get tarnished.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you got to make sure your reputation is the most important thing. You got to protect it with your life. I'd like to know, what is the strategy in real estate that you've learned that you think that most people still don't know about?
And I'm currently learning that and shifting to it, but you hear so much from podcasts, social media, books. Same thing, no different when I came in. I want to do an Airbnb. I want to do long-term rentals. I want to do short-term rentals. And it's identifying, like, my strategy was to buy rentals.
Right.
Somehow I ended up doing a bunch of flips because the money made sense.
Right.
Right. But now it's realizing, like, I got to focus on one avenue. Right. And you've helped a lot with that, like, and calling me out. Right. So.
Well, yeah, just, you know what's going to happen. Like, when you've been down the trail before, you know where the booby traps are. And I'm knowing that you're going to make a lot of money flipping houses this year. I was like, you're going to pay a lot of taxes unless you start cracking the rentals before the end of the year. And if you know that you're going to pay whatever, $50, $60, $70, $80,000 in taxes, and you can avoid that by just buying a few rental properties, you got to call people out because you don't want them to be like, hey, why didn't you tell me? Because I always feel like, a lot of people just don't speak up and warn people like, hey, you're about ready to step into danger. Don't do that. And so you're somebody that we care about. We want to make sure that you're successful. And that's why we did that. So at the mastermind here, this being the second one that you've attended and the first one being the speaker lineup, some of them that you suggested, how do you see this program changing with your involvement? You're actually helping onboard students. You help sell tickets. Where do you see yourself, with your job with real estate and that translating? Like, what would be a dream world for Eddy Ramos?
It's a good question. I'm still trying to figure that out myself.
Right.
So
I think we all are.
The W-2 job, I love it.
Right.
We do things, and I learn something new every day. We do things that other people are not doing, right? Being able to drill 25,000 feet and try to get this energy for people, right? So we bring energy to the world. That's amazing. From a personal perspective, is continue to try to grow the portfolio. Now I have Brett and Morgan, to think about, and how do I make sure that their lives are good, right?
Right.
I don't think I'm gonna ever stop working.
Yeah.
Even though I like being lazy. I like just hanging out. But that is the goal, is to hopefully $20,000 a month cash flow, and then being able to choose to go to work as opposed to being told you have to come to work.
Right.
That's what my end goal is.
And you say lazy a lot, but I don't see you as a lazy guy. You're on every call. You show up all the time. You were out yesterday helping my wife with the trash. I mean, you're doing everything all the time. I don't see you as a lazy guy. So why do you say that word a lot?
So everyone says, like, what's your perfect day look like, right? And Morgan can attest to this. So we have a little Chihuahua, and he likes to sleep 17 hours a day.
Okay.
If you leave it up to me, I'm hanging right there with him on the couch and just napping, right?
Okay.
That's when I say lazy, that's my That's like my perfect day. Just leave me on the couch, let me watch Suits, no problem, and that's it.
Oh, let's go down that. So, are you on the Suits kick right now?
Oh, recently, yeah, recently.
Those are the shows that you can't turn off. Like I watched, I think it's 9 seasons.
I'm on finishing up season 7 recently.
Yeah, that's one you get into and you just, I mean, you fall asleep. You're like, I think I missed like 2 or 3 episodes, but I mean, how much do you like Harvey, right?
Yeah. Comes in. I mean, I've used some of their tactics on some of these like calls with real estate agents, right?
Yeah.
Some people want to be told what to do.
Most,
yeah.
Most people want to be told what to do. If you we go out to a restaurant last night and you say, hey, I want to order the chicken parm. And they say, well, hey, Eddie, we know you like the chicken parm, but you got to try our chef's chicken parm. It's $10 more, but it's way better. You'll definitely, if you love chicken parm, you'll love this one. You should eat it. And you're going to want to order it because people do. They want to be led, right? Most people are followers, and there's not a lot of leaders out there. So we always look to strong leadership, right? And if you can be told what the best decision for you is without you having to think about it, that's a great situation. One of the things that has, baffled me, and I'm sure baffled you, is like, why do some people just join a program and not do anything with it, right? Like, has that been hard for you to understand?
It has, because we've had some people join your program,
right,
and didn't participate.
Yeah.
And it's easy for me to say, well, why don't you do that? But I've been one of those people for another program, right?
So you understand.
So I understand, but when I started that program, I was in my journey where I needed more, my hand to be held, right?
Yeah.
Direct access. Now I can go back to that program and leverage the connections I can make there.
Right.
Right. But a lot of it is people, from what I'm seeing, people want to be part of a community.
Right.
And say, yeah, I'm taking action. Look, I paid for this program, but then they don't want to do any of the work, right? So I think that's the big. It's a mindset thing for people. Like I paid. I'm on this call. Now you do the work for me, as opposed to me doing the work, and that's not just how it works.
Yeah, we had that call with a person one time where we're like, what could we do better for you? Other than do it for you, and it's like nothing, because ultimately it's always up to you, right? You can have the best golf coach instructor, you can have the best real estate coach, but if you're not going to go and do the work, nothing's going to happen. I think your story is inspiring to a lot of people. You're kind of like the first generation, right, in the U.S.
Yeah, well, my brother and my sister, yeah.
Yeah,
but we are.
But yeah, you're meaning that the children of your family are your first generation. So your dad's got to be proud of what he sees you accomplishing right now, knowing, and your mother as well. I'm sure it's not just your dad, but your parents must be super impressed with the fact that you're starting to acquire all these properties. Has that initial fear that you had to buy the property, because there was 2 flips that are, I think you're on number 4, right?
5 or 6 now, yeah, probably.
Oh yeah, because I forgot about that one that turned into one. So add it all up, how much money have you made in the last 15 months flipping properties?
If we close the one that we're doing together, that's probably over 200, maybe 200,000.
200,000, just extra compared to what you do in your job, which you get paid pretty well for.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool to do that, right? Versus that $300 a month in cash flow with all the money buried in there, right? So how's your strategy shifting?
So now I'm learning more about, okay, well, if I flip, how do I leverage that flip into a rental, right?
Right.
So that's something you've helped me with is, hey, you flip 2 or 3, buy 1 rental cash. You own it outright now, and then you can cash flow $1,200, $1,300 a month if you want to get to that 5, 10, 20,000. And pretty much we're doing it with other people's money, meaning based on the flip, the next buyer is paying for my flip here, for my rental,
right,
and I'm owning it outright. So that's what the strategy now is moving forward.
Yeah, and the reason I like that, owning those cheap houses with no debt, is it takes...
Cost effective. Cost effective, not cheap houses.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Well, cheap works to get people really to spin up. It's very cost effective, right? And I think a lot of people, when they realize that they want to own real estate, they think, oh, I'm going to have this beautiful property. But the reality is most rental properties are in rental areas, right? And if you want to scale, you got to go into those areas. I remember when we first got on the phone together, you weren't as suave as you are now. Now you're getting on the phone and you feel very, very comfortable, and you've taken other courses and learning from other people. Would you say you're kind of obsessed with real estate right now?
Yeah, I love being on it, love being on the calls, our 2 weeks of call we have, and then trying to learn as much as possible from different people. And this is where the masterminds are amazing, right? Like last night's dinner was amazing. I just shut up and listen to people like you and, let's say, Henry Washington talking to each other, and just listen to the amount of knowledge you guys are talking back and forth and try to pick up on that. So, yeah, I love it now.
Do you see yourself kind of building this thing like just Fort Knox? Like, are you competitively, secretly in your mind where you want to be the number one dog with the most properties?
I wasn't before, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I kind of see that. I'm kind of pinning you against Josh and Ryan because I see there's a little bit of competition within you guys, and you might as well feel it, right? Because you guys all win. If you all are competing against each other, even if somebody's losing, somebody's in second place, they still win because you pick up more rental properties. So Josh Clark, who's sitting in the background over here, are you beating him right now?
He's not as good looking as me, but yeah. No, I mean, that's one of the things that I did not realize about joining mentorships.
Yeah.
Right? So you join a mentorship to buy rentals, I'm not rich, so make more money and eventually get rich, right? But one thing that I didn't realize is the community that you gain with it.
Right.
So me, you, Josh, Ryan are in a group chat, and we talk about just sometimes real estate, sometimes other dumb stuff.
Yeah.
But just about every day or every other day, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't expect that. Some random people I didn't know 14 months ago becoming such good friends, where I have very good friends at home or in my life that don't do real estate, and they're trying to tell you like how to manage your money, right?
Yeah.
Well, you shouldn't do that. Well, I have no idea about that area of real estate, but you shouldn't do it because you're gonna lose money.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I didn't expect out of mentorships is the community behind it, and that you guys just being supportive.
Yeah.
And also calling me out and saying you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, and what you're doing is wrong.
Yeah, I think one thing that when you talk about your friends that somebody told me one time that made a lot of sense to me is, if I won't take your advice, why would I take your criticism, right? Like, people love to say this is the way to do it. I had a stepdad, he won't be listening to this, but he was a broke screenwriter all the time, was always chasing success and was always that close, and then would kind of fall on his face. And I think, and then he would, and even as I was younger and becoming financially free, he stepped in and, this was after my stepdad and my mother got divorced, and he would be like, you know what you should do? I'm like, I've watched you for a long period of time really not do the right things with money, so why would I take your advice? But it's so funny how many people speak up and try to tell you what the right way to do. So are your friendships changing and the people that you hang around changing?
It's gotten smaller, so now I only hang out and talk to like my actual friends. They're not in real estate, cool, but we still talk. But yeah, pertaining to real estate and how do I move forward, a lot more is just happening between the community that we have here and other people who are investing in real estate.
And you're following a lot more people, you're learning different strategies from other people, you're trying to get involved, you're taking more education, you're continuing to invest in yourself, and you're seeing those fruits of those labors. Real estate is pretty simple. Buy low, sell high. Figure out, but there's a million different tricks and tips and ways that you can get things done that you had no idea about before, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think the biggest objection or the biggest factor has been the mentality that we put on ourselves, right? So like you said, how do you get started? Well, you buy a property. Well, I don't know what to do. Well, I want to join a mentorship. Well, joining a mentorship takes time and money.
Right.
Well, you can join certain mentorships and maybe it might be cheaper, you don't get the results.
Right.
You want to be successful, you got to pay for people's time. And that's the cost factor is, well, why am I going to pay you that, you know? But now I'm realizing as I continue to learn about real estate and learn from different people is you got to pay to play. And now I look at it more like, oh, that's all you're charging me for your time, and I get to hang out with you twice a week for 3 hours for the next year. Oh, cool. I'll make my money in no time in one deal.
Yeah, it's a different understanding. Like, you know, I think a lot of people who may be listening, you know, there are a lot of fake gurus out there, and I don't know. I didn't think I would ever say that, because when I got on, I'm like, I've said this time and time again, like, why would somebody come up and just pretend to be somebody else? But I guess a lot of people have a different identity. They think they are somebody that they're not, right? Like, they think they're successful. They think they're in good shape. They think this, or they think they're, and, you know, it's just crazy that they would go through the audacity to take somebody's money. But I've seen it happen. And so there is the fear of losing money in real estate. Are you worried about losing money in real estate right now?
No. I know I haven't lost money in real estate yet. It's going to happen.
Yes.
But to me now, that's just a statistic, right? That's a number. I'm expecting it to happen at some point, but I'm not worried about losing money in real estate right now. If anything, I'm more excited about real estate right now with the interest rates, because I have less competition in the markets.
Yeah, and that's a big shift, because before, most people would say, oh, interest rates are up, I got to get out. Like, I'm not playing that game. And you realize that what most people are doing is exactly the opposite of what you should do. So let's talk about some of the speakers that came into the mastermind yesterday. Whose message really resonated with you?
I mean, all the speakers. Brian, we had Blake, we had Naaman, just about every speaker that, and even your partner, Robert, you know, and I've been funding a lot of the deals. We've been funding a lot of deals ourselves, cash. And he just talked to him for 2 minutes, like, hey, let me look at your portfolio and we can get you money to continue to scale, right? So, but I think Brian did a good job of that. Get that voice inside you, and that's the only voice that matters.
Yeah.
That's the only voice that matters. If someone else is telling you something else, who cares? That voice in you is what matters, and that's what you got to continue moving forward with.
Yeah, I got a lot from him personally. That's why I invited him. I thought, like, you know, it doesn't matter how successful you are. It doesn't matter where you're at. You're always going to have that voice inside you. And today I was doing affirmations on the treadmill. You know, it was the second day in a row. I had actually done it before he spoke, and I had never done it before. I don't know if it was because I knew he was speaking, but to change the way that you think and the way that you talk to yourself is important. And it's something that I read in a book, which is a really, really good book. You probably should get it on Audible. I'll
buy it right now, and it's just going to sit. Morgan's going to get mad.
Yeah, exactly. Joe Dispenza, it's called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. But one thing that, I don't know if you know this, but as human beings, we can't, or we don't a lot of times, think in the future success. We rely on our past failures to talk about our internal talk and our conversation. And a lot of that is negative. It's like, oh, well, you didn't do well at this in high school and you're not going to do well now, or you're scared of this and you're not going to do that well now. And I think that if people took the time, and I had him on the podcast yesterday, and I asked him, because I was curious, I'm like, you know, you said you did all this stuff. Brian, this is Brian Casella. I said, you said you did all of this stuff. What was the result of that? Like, when you journaled for however many years, what was the result? And he was like, it was quiet up here. And I think a lot of people would like their heads to be quiet, because there's so much going on in that brain that you got to really just focus on what's next. So probably going to bring you and all the three guys up there to talk a little bit today, or on the bus or something. We'll squeeze it in some way before everything. What do you think you would tell to the audience?
I think just talking to some of them, just have that effort factor, right? Which is that's what made me jump into out of state investing, right? A lot of students are in big markets, right?
Yeah.
Well, how do we do this? How do I invest out of state? I want to, but I need to be next to it. I need to be next to my property. And the biggest thing I've been telling them is, okay, are you a roofer? No.
Yeah.
Are you gonna fix the roof? No. Are you gonna fix the plumbing? No.
Yeah.
So why does it matter to be next door to your property, right? Because you're gonna call someone regardless.
Right.
Yeah, you have the benefit of going a couple blocks over, but how do you overcome that fear and just go invest somewhere else where your money can actually grow? And that was my big limiting factor in the beginning. And now, yeah, do I still get a knot in my stomach and am I scared investing out of state? Yeah, but I know it's the right thing to do. But with every deal, I still feel it, but you just ignore it and say, this is the right decision, right? I have all the data, I have all the facts. This is the right way to go.
I think eventually, with anything, it's just do the same activity over and over and over again. You fly helicopters all the time. When you first got in that helicopter, were you nervous?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't fly them, but yes, but yeah,
You're not. I mean, you're not the pilot. I'd be nervous about that too. But
Yeah.
you take a helicopter to an oil rig every time you go.
That's right.
The
yeah.
first time you got on that helicopter, were you nervous?
Oh yeah, I'm scared of heights, but I fly all the time, but I'm scared of heights. Yeah.
Me too. Yeah, I don't like heights. We get on the top of the building up here. We get to the corner. I'm like, yeah, that's about as good.
Hold on here, hold on.
And you know what that fear is? The fear is, what if I throw myself off the building? That's what most people have a fear of. They're like, or what if I trip and fall off the building? And because the reality is, like, and this is kind of funny. I always like to talk about this, about people with flying, because I don't like to fly either, And people are like, well, it's really, like, the people say it's really safe. Yeah, it is really safe to fly. I've never had a close call or anything like that. I've had some bad flights. I'm sure you have too, where it's naughty. But the reality is when they get up on the airplane and they're doing the whole seatbelt thing, blowing in that thing, that's theatrics. Because if that plane goes down from 39,000 feet into the ocean, you're fucking toast. Like, nobody survives. So the fear in that is real. Because if you get on a plane and it crashes, you're toast. If you get on a helicopter and it crashes, you're probably toast.
Yeah.
And so those fears are real. But if you invest in real estate and you lose money, you're not going to be toast. You're not going to be bankrupt. You're not going to be anything like that. Now, how's your stock market portfolio looking now?
My personal portfolio, I don't have. The little funds that I did have, now I changed it over to Red's account, right, just to start them off. But
that's cool. You already did that?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's funny we have that conversation. Like, he has more money than we have now. But no, I never put it back into my personal portfolio, right? I just continue to use that money and cycle it into the different properties, because the velocity of money, I've been able to grow that portfolio a lot quicker, and I'm able to manage the money myself. If I lose the money, it's on me. If I gain more money, it's a result of my action and not depending on, hopefully, the company's portfolio, whoever I'm investing in. The CEO is doing the right thing and the market responds how he wants it to, right? Or she wants it to. So I'm not depending on another company's balance sheet to grow my portfolio.
But before you were?
Yes.
And even like very recently, like when we talked, you were like, hey, I want to get a hard money loan. And I'm like, well, how much money you got in the stock market? And you're like, I got enough to cover this thing. And you're like, yeah, but I'm down in the stock market. And I'm like, okay, but like, let's break that down. Like, that interest is going to cost you $15,000. I think you were down 30. Was that?
Yeah, I think I was down 30 in the portfolio, or 35.
Yeah.
And worst case scenario on that hard money loan, if the property stayed for a year, we would have been in for 30,000. And that was my big concern, is borrowing someone else's money. And you were like, you have a problem. The solution is you don't want them on your back or someone breathing down your neck.
Yeah.
Sell your portfolio. It's a wash. Right, and then we made $72,000 on it, so it covered that.
Yeah.
And that portfolio is still down, I think, or overall the market still hasn't recovered. I think it's like maybe another 5-7% before it fully recovers to where we would have been even.
Right. And the other thing about that is, how much cash flow are you getting in off that investment every month?
Zero.
Zero.
It looks good on paper, though.
It does, yeah. And that's all you're buying.
That's right.
That's the funny thing about the stock market. People don't realize that they're buying other people's debt. Mm-hmm. It's the craziest thing in the world, and people just follow the masses and stuff like that. All right, so some final questions just to kind of wrap things up. If people are listening, they're young, they haven't invested in real estate right now, and they want to get started, what would you tell them to do?
First, I would say, look, you want to get started. There's a lot of forums out there. Bigger Pockets is a good one of them. If you want to bypass some of the hurdles, you're still going to trip from time to time.
Yeah.
Get a mentorship. To me, Troy's one of the best ones around. Actually, the best one around, because that's why I joined him. And he sometimes is not the right fit for people, right? But Get a coach.
Yeah.
So you can bypass. You can do it yourself, but if you want to bypass and minimize the risk in all of it, then invest in yourself by investing in a coach.
Yeah, that's good. For people who maybe they've lost money before, maybe they've made bad investments before, maybe they're older and they're worried about losing their nest egg. There's kind of only a couple ways that you can make money in life. You can start a business, right? Which is a really easy way to lose money. You can find an asset that is and buy it below market value and then sell it for a profit, or you can do a bunch of other things. For me and for other people, real estate is the best path because it's the most predictable way to become a multimillionaire. Now, have you calculated your net worth right now?
No, but I know what it was when I joined you about 14 months ago.
What was it when you joined?
So I officially, on paper, became a millionaire on March 15th of 2022.
Okay.
And I know that number because it's March 15th is usually when like bonus season comes out for the company. That's when they pay it out, right? And I just needed about another couple $1,000s to get over that hump to become a millionaire on paper. I think we're probably closer to maybe 6 months ago I was at 1.9. So we're probably a little bit over 2 by now.
And very quick.
Yeah, so in the last 16 months, we probably gained another $1 million on paper. Net worth, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. I appreciate you sharing your story. If people want to get a hold of you and follow your story, how do they find you?
Instagram would be Eddy_Ramos. So I have about 1,000 followers, so let's get me up to about 100, 100,000.
Yeah, for sure.
Eddy Ramos, and then obviously join your mentorship, and then you'll have access to us. All of our students they contact us, have our numbers. So.
Oh, most important question before I go. How do you think the Dolphins are going to do?
I knew that. I was one or two questions. And you were coming. I think I'm a longtime Dolphins fan, so this season's been amazing.
Did you catch the one against the Chiefs?
No, it was international, so they'll broadcast it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Hey, as long as we're not 1-15, I'm happy with it. And that whole time has been an amazing journey watching the Dolphins, and that's me and my dad's bonding time. So
yeah,
win or lose is good, but hopefully they win the Super Bowl. That'd be.
No, they got Tyreek Hill. They look good this year. I actually do like the Dolphins. I used to be a big Dan Marino fan, and when I go down to Florida, we'll probably get season tickets down there.
You don't want to enjoy my seats behind the end zone?
I've had those seats before, and it's kind of hard to see what's going on. But they're great. They're I would say they're kind of like, your first rental properties. You know what I mean? They're good. They've got some good things about them, but for me, I want to be in the
D, F neighborhoods. You want to be in the A, B neighborhoods now?
Yeah, for football only. For real estate, I'm good with C and D, But for football, I want to be, if I'm going to go, I want to be down there and checking things out for sure. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you coming in early. It's just a little bit before 8 o'clock right now, and we've been going these mastermind events. They take a toll. They take a lot of energy, and so I appreciate coming. I appreciate all the help that you did for selling tickets, getting people in the program, and volunteering your time, and I really appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Peace. Did you ever want to invest in real estate? Did you ever want to live the life of your dreams? Did you want financial freedom? Did you want to break the generational curse? Did you want to help your parents out? Did you want to help your mom out? Maybe you work for a job that you don't like. You know, they say there's only one reason to work a job, and that's to learn, right? If you're not learning at your job, you're just going through the motions, right? We have a free Facebook group, the Millionaire Mentorship Facebook group for real estate investing. Make sure you join. The link is in the description. If you want to schedule a free call with me and my team and you actually want to start, I would suggest you do so. We have helped hundreds of people change their lives, and all they had to do was get started. They booked a call with me and my team, and they got the ball rolling. And I'm so confident that if you don't get your first or next investment property within the first 90 days, you don't pay, and I'll give you $1,000 cash. That's how confident I am. Obviously, you got to take action. You can't just do nothing and expect that to happen, but that's life. Life's all about taking action. Make sure you give this podcast a 5-star review, share it with a friend, and take action.